Hello and welcome to Have I Got News for You, unless you're a channel hopper, in which case, goodbye. In the news this week, at London Zoo, there are calls for the resignation of the architect who designed the Elephant House. During an inspection of the Iraqi Imperial Guard, one soldier regrets daydreaming about Melinda Messenger. And London Transport finds a foolproof way to reduce overcrowding on buses. On Ian Hislop's team is a broadcaster who's been told he won't win the Labour Party nomination for Lord Mayor because he sends his children to a private school in North London, although that does make him an ideal candidate for party leader, Trevor Phillips. And with Paul Merton tonight is a comedian who launched his career at the Glastonbury Festival, performing to a crowd of 20,000 people, or the queue for the toilets as it's known, Bill Bailey. So, round one, and hello again to channel hoppers, and goodbye. Paul and Bill, your mission?
That could be its bagpipes, yep. Donald Dewar, a bad publicity stunt. And there's the King. The King of Scotland.
The running on the I live in Marbella wife slapping ticket.
Not strictly speaking true, of course. It doesn't live in Marbella anymore.
No. Where does he live?
The Bahamas.
Right.
I am 1/16 Scottish myself, actually. Really? Yes, I feel a great kinship with Sean Connery, actually.
He's not very Scottish, though. he's going bald.
Well, we both come from the Bahamas, don't we?
What did Connery call New Labour? Do you know his term for them?
New Labour.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could do that. I can do an impression of Sean Connery.
No, I wouldn't put it that strongly.
You've got a nerve criticising my impressions.
I think he does a very good Jimmy Somerville.
I've got a new one, actually.
What's that?
I've got the boy who advertises BBC Children's Television.
This is, yes, the SNP's attempt to boost their waning election hopes by calling on Sean Connery, the famous 007, so called because of the number of times he's visited Scotland. Amid all the media hype surrounding Sean Connery's arrival in Scotland, politicians in Wales are desperately concerned as to whether the Welsh national elections are going to be overlooked. Ian and Trevor, your question? Now in its fifth week.
There are the Apache helicopters going in. There's a couple of homely mass murderers.
Yeah.
And that's a delegation of men in coats.
It's Charlie Whitlam, isn't it?
I don't know. Who is that?
I don't know. It's somebody.
Jim Davidson.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Jim Davidson. Oh, he's going to give Slobber some advice, I suppose.
He's been over to entertain the troops.
Really? Gosh, things are bad.
I think he's being used as a subhuman shield.
Yes, it's King Tony, isn't it? The Americans have decided Blair is the man.
They love him. Clinton's actually, I think, been a bit unsettled because he got this 11th commandment from God, which said, "Thou shalt not comfort thy rod with thy staff," and I think he's still a bit.
So what's Clinton and Blair's new plan that they've come up with this week?
It's a bit like the old plan.
Right.
Yes.
Except it's this week rather than last week. The plan is not to use ground troops, because that might work.
Right.
So it's to carry on bombing, because that doesn't. It's a cunning plan.
They're starting an oil blockade.
Yes.
That's the idea. They've got a stop and search policy now.
No, this is another policy that instead of sending in troops, you're going to stop the oil getting through, except the Russians, because that would create trouble. So that can go through.
The problem with this stop and search policy is that, I hear that they're going to send Metropolitan Police, and they haven't seen any black people to stop yet in the Adriatic. everybody's getting through.
Nice idea.
Did you drive here tonight? So I wouldn't drive back.
This is the continuing war in the Balkans. The increasingly hawkish mood of NATO has angered President Yeltsin, who told the Western leaders, "You want to bring in ground troops. You want simply to seize Yugoslavia. We cannot let that happen." Luckily, his wife dragged him away, screaming, "Leave it, Boris, they're not worth it." Paul and Bill, watch carefully. I'll be asking questions later.
Chris Woodhead. Oh, please, sir, can I go to bed with you?
There's Prince Charles saying the pencil's rather large for me.
Yes. It's don't stand so close to me. Young teacher, the victim of schoolgirl fantasy. She wants him. But he's got to do geography marking. Something like that. Didn't Prince Charles or something come? You supported him or something? He came out in favour of.
Wrote him a letter, yeah.
Yeah, Prince Charles can always spot a complete bummer in the campaign, can't he?
Yes, he's actually invited him to have dinner with him and Camilla.
Oh, really?
As if he wasn't in enough shit already, but... So how did the story come about? How did it all blow up, as it were? Chris Woodhead stuff?
Oh, originally it was his wife, was it? His ex-wife, who claimed that he had been having an affair with a schoolgirl while she was still at school. And he said, "Oh, I know, it was after she left school." About a quarter of an hour after.
Yeah.
So David Blunkett, he's come out in support of him, and then Prince Charles said, "Oh, I think Chris Woodhead does a fantastic job."
And why might he go to prison if the allegation is true?
Well, I mean, he comes from the royal family over the... Woodhead. Oh, sorry. Did you know that Prince Philip, his brother-in-law, was a high-ranking Nazi? He worked on... no, who was it? It was Himmler's personal staff. Yeah, it's in the Kitty Kelly book, The Royals.
It's nothing short of a national scandal.
Absolutely. Let's get rid of him.
Exactly.
Start now.
Yeah.
Honk your horn every time you go past Buckingham Palace, and then the crescendo will build, and we'll see him swinging on a gibbet.
I think you've got to be careful about the truth of the Kitty Kelly book. Because in the acknowledgements, there's credit to me.
Well, that's my arse sued in court, isn't it?
Yes, it is the news that Prince Charles has waded in to defend the besieged Chris Woodhead, the Chief Inspector of Schools, who was accused of having had an affair in the 70s with a sixth form pupil. His wife first became suspicious after he asked her to sew leather patches on the knees of his trousers. And finally, Ian and Trevor.
The large white dome. Completely empty. Lily came out and said that we're caring. You know, we love the public services. And that Thatcher, she was evil.
Yeah.
I said, Lily said, "I thought it all along. I thought it all along, but I just,
Didn't mention it.
Didn't mention it,
He and Haig were in the cabinet, but, it slipped their mind. They're for public education and for spending more on the health service. And they always have been since yesterday. And today they're not. Because Thatcher turned up. Sort of mad bat came and stabbed them.
It was funny, he said, "There shall be no sacred cows." and there she was.
It is the Tory split caused by Peter Lilly's so-called anti-Thatcher speech. This split has spoilt the Tory relaunch, for which Haig was apparently told by image consultants wear the sort of clothes you'd expect a successful Conservative leader to wear. So he turned up the next day in a blue dress carrying a handbag. So the end of round one brings an end to the point scoring for Ian's team tonight, each side having 4. So, welcome to round two, as indeed anyone is this week, in an effort to reach out to regional viewers, a round solely dedicated to the recognition of buildings in London. As featured here on our silhouetteometer, Trevor, our token Lord Mayor candidate tonight, is first up. So let's watch the board as we go round the houses.
This is the proposed assembly building built by Norman Foster.
We can reveal it now, you got it right? Yes, you are absolutely
lovely.
right.
There is a bit of a problem with this building, though, because Foster obviously designed it before the survey came out that said a fifth of all British workers are bonking on their desks all day. So, first thing I'm going to do as Lord Mayor, I mean, you can't stop bonking, but put in some curtains.
It looks like one of those machines you get in chip shops that kill insects.
Anyway, it's your office, isn't it?
Yeah, no, the whole thing's not my office, just that top floor there.
Yes, and...
It's going to have lots of curtains around it.
And and why might it not be the Mayor of London's offices?
Well, Trevor might not win. I don't know if he's heard to him.
No, that's not allowed.
I can see Red Ken there in the drawing, just on the top floor.
Well, you have to have somebody to operate the lifts, OK?
That's Jeffrey Archer, surely.
No, in fact, it's that the government have no right to tell the Mayor of London where to put his offices, so you don't have to necessarily go along with those plans. So,
Oh, you could stand up to Tony and say, no, Tony. Imagine it, Trevor.
Bill, your turn to put a name to a shape.
So dismal.
This is one of these new stealth buildings, isn't it? That's right. Some kind of like a car park, stroke, polytechnic, university toilet.
Is it the MI5 building?
You're very close, yes. It is, in fact, the MI6 building.
Well, I knew it in the old days.
That's next door.
Why has it been in the news?
Are they going to repaint it? Sort of changing rooms special?
They have stopped the Bond film using it as a backdrop for a boat chase.
Will you ever get the boats in and out of the corridors?
The reason that they banned it was that it might give away the location of one of the most distinctive landmarks in London. It was Robin Cook who lifted the ban, in fact.
Saying it was a bit silly?
He said, after all James Bond has done for Britain, it was the least I could do for Bond. He doesn't exist, Robin. Ian, it's your chance to pit your wits against our silhouetteometer.
Well, that's the House of Parliament with a bit added onto it. Mm-hmm. Is this the £8 zillion new building that MPs have voted through as their new offices?
Yes, it's called Portcullis House. And how much does it cost?
It costs 88 million billion.
It is actually the most expensive office block per user ever built in the UK. And they spent £1.2 million per MP that's going to use it.
Oh, no.
And the plants in the courtyard alone cost £200,000.
How much do the secretaries cost?
Slightly cheaper.
Where are they getting their plants for £200,000?
Colombia, I think. Paul, you two have a peculiar shape.
Thank you. It's a stump of a tree, isn't it? That's been eating ready brick. I don't know what it is.
We can tear away the silhouette and have a look at it. That might help.
It's Richard Curtis's house.
They used it in Notting Hill Gate, the new film, and he's coincidentally selling his house, and the hope is, I don't know if it's the hope, but he might get an extra windfall because people say, I want to buy that house that appears in Notting Hill Gate, and he wrote the film, so it could be that he's trying this as a way to sell his house.
yes. And what happens there in the film?
Let me see. That's where Hugh Grant lives.
Have you seen this film?
I have seen this film.
Is it good?
Right, are you the only person
Yes,
that has?
oh, fantastic film.
Well, why are you asking us what happens in a film which only you have seen?
Yeah, good point.
It's massive.
Let's kill him.
Yeah.
I smell blood.
I think we asked the question. So, what was Liz Hurley's dress like? Yeah, exactly. This is what did she look a right old slapper?
I don't remember actually seeing it, to be honest, until I saw it in the papers the next day.
Were you not there then?
Yes, but I wasn't staring at her dress.
Why not? You mean? Are you coming out? Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Something happens in the house that made it even more valuable, which is that...
You went there for dinner.
No, although I have. Hugh actually shags Julia. That's where the sex scene takes place in the house. So.
Oh, good. Well, we wouldn't know that because we haven't seen it.
Spoil the film for everybody now.
And Hugh obviously didn't read about this. Wore flesh-coloured thongs for the scene.
What colour were these flesh-coloured thongs? It could be a racist remark.
The colour of Hugh's flesh.
Oh, a Hugh's flesh. You know him well, do you?
Played football with him.
Oh, you played football with him.
Seen him in the showers.
So, you are coming out then?
There was a burning issue of the day that was reopened by Julia Roberts' appearance at the premiere.
Hair underneath the arms. In Britain, it seems to be an unpopular thing, but on the continent, women just wear hair under their arms. It's there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, they plait it and weave it into a kind of a little basket.
Yeah. Where you can carry apples and sundry goods.
Yeah.
You can tune it.
Yeah.
We can actually see a picture. There we are. Julia's.
Well, that's all right. What's wrong with that?
That's not hair, though, is it? That's a tiny little vole. She's trained to squat very, very still.
Yeah.
But there's another reason why property prices are soaring.
In Notting Hill.
That Peter Mandelson is moving out. Or who was your best man, of course, wasn't he, Trevor?
I think this business about me and man, it's all envy, actually, because I'm the only person in public life who's ever shared a room with Peter Mandelson. I think people are tremendously envious. People keep asking me, what's he like?
So what's he like?
Charming. Got hair under his arms.
Yes, and you never see him and Julia at the same time, do you?
Are you suggesting that Peter Mandelson starred in Pretty Woman?
Don't go there.
It is Hugh Grant's house, as featured in the new film Notting Hill, which premiered this week. At the party, Liz Hurley upstaged everyone by arriving, according to one fashion designer, in a low-cut, see-through, backless outfit, split open to the waist. Surely stark naked is a simpler way to describe it. Chatting about romance, Hugh Grant described how his libido dramatically increased when he was outside England. As soon as I go to Paris or Italy, I become a different man, presumably in case he has to give his name and address to So, as that round subsides, a quick survey of the scores shows that Paul and Bill are in need of a little underpinning. Behind as they are, 10-8. Round 3 offers the prospect, however bleak, of our one-out round. Paul, Ken Livingstone, Jerry Adams, Tam Diel, and Lucy the Labrador.
Is it about disgracing yourself or themselves in the House of Commons? Because Lucy the dog, she was ill recently, wasn't she? I think Edward Heath was making a speech, and Lucy the dog suddenly threw up in his ear.
Willits.
Beg your pardon?
David Willits.
David Willits was making,
Yes.
Two Brains was making a speech, and she threw up, and I think it's about misbehaviour in the House of Commons. I think Tam Dale and Ken Livingstone have both sort of like been banned for a couple of weeks for unparliamentary language or whatever they call it. And Gerry Adams has never been in the House of Commons. He's, I don't think, although he did win a seat in Belfast, I think, a couple of years ago. So I think he's the odd one out because all the others have been naughty in the House of Commons, apart from him.
Is the right answer.
Hey!
Gerry Adams has recently been criticised for appearing on the after-dinner circuit, where he gets the audience going with his favourite joke. You've got 2 minutes to clear the building. Bill, your gruesome choice is between Walt Disney, Margaret Thatcher, Benny and Bjorn, and IKEA.
Ah, lovely beardies there. Walt Disney has had his head frozen in cryogenically.
Yeah.
So, in the mistaken belief, I believe that one day the medical science will be able to fit his head onto a body. I think they should put on a giant duck for a laugh. Thatcher obviously has been frozen already, and what we're seeing is just robot legs and Davros on the top.
That's Bobby Davros.
Bobby Davros, yeah. And IKEA make the freezers. Flat pack, self-assembly, cryogenic units.
Yeah.
And these two are just harmless, bearded songwriters.
Walt Disney hated men with beards. He wouldn't let any of them work in his thing. Thatcher said, I won't have beardies in the cabinet.
Yes, he's right.
One, sometimes she was right. IKEA, you're not allowed to have a beard.
if you work there.
They said, we're not having members of the public with beards in here.
Yeah.
Because
I've been in there.
Yeah.
Well, you got through.
Yeah.
No, it was in Bristol, wasn't it? It was
Sneaked in.
one of the big IKEA stores.
It was in Bristol.
And those guys have got beards.
Is the right answer. Baroness Thatcher wouldn't allow any of her ministers to sport beards, presumably because she didn't like the prickly sensation on her arse during cabinet meetings. In 1969, a respected Australian psychiatrist, Dr. Nigel Parker, said, gentlemen who wear facial hair are generally obsessive, psychopathic, impotent, or have some other sexual problem. Ian, your assorted fruits are Sinead O'Connor, Slobodan Milosevic, Lily Langtry, and John Gummer.
Sinead O'Connor's become a priestess. She's just been ordained. And she's now known as Sister Bernadette of Our Ladies of the Loonies. Slobodan Milosevic, I don't imagine he's been called to the priesthood. Gummer was going to be a priest. He was on the Synod, the Church of England. And Lily Langtry was best known for being the Prince of Wales's mistress, and I don't think they had women priests then. They're all priests, except all three of them, except Sinead O'Connor. Only one of them smokes. In the hope that he might kill some more people by passive smoking.
The answer is that all their fathers were clergymen, except Sinead O'Connor, who claims this week that she became a priest and adopted the name Mother Bernadette Mary O'Connor. So that's the name that you should now be looking for in the HMV Monster Sale bargain bin. And finally in this round, Trevor, Lord Hailsham, the Queen Mother, Michael Benteen, and you.
It must be something to do with you. What have you ever done with the Queen Mother or Lord Hailsham?
I danced with the Queen Mother. Okay, I'm going to come out.
Yes, that's it.
I danced with the Queen Mother. And
She danced in the blue flame, and she's now immortal.
She danced with Lord Hailsham sometime in 1868.
Yeah. He's drinking blood. He's drinking blood, look.
Blood of a virgin.
Yes.
Hailsham danced with the Queen Mother.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Benteen did.
She's the odd one out, because she
Doesn't dance to herself.
doesn't dance with herself.
Is the right answer.
It was great, because she said to me, I was a student at the time, she said, you're a Marxist, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And he said, Marx, what a romantic fool.
So you reckon you're in there? What kind of dance was it? Disco dance?
Close.
It's the hokey cokey. You put your left hip in, you put your left hip in, out, get another one put in.
The Queen Mother apparently is very good at getting people to dance. According to royal biographer Elizabeth Longford, quite recently at Royal Lodge, she persuaded Lord Hailsham to throw away his sticks and join her in a Welsh jig. Well, she jigged, he lay on the floor trying to get his sticks back. For which singing and dancing brings us tripping to the end of this stage with Paul and Bill in need of a ball change, trailing as they are 15-10. Missing words is how we bring this show to a climactic whimper, an unhealthy dose of ill-formed headlines, including one or fewer from this week's guest publication, the always reliable Elevator World. The world's foremost elevator publication. Oh. So, eyes down, look in, on. A third of us don't know what?
Don't know the half of it.
What the other three-quarters are doing.
Yeah.
Other three quarters?
It's a joke.
Oh, it was a joke. That's good, yeah. Well, that's right, isn't it?
It's actually a third of us don't know who lives next door. Is the answer. Next, 2-ton rhino makes what?
Ceramic cup in night school. Edward Heath's eyes water.
Makes little impression on Volvo estate, is the answer. This is a 5-year-old rhino who clambered onto the bonnet and edged his forelegs towards the windscreen. But when the lights were green, they just paid him £1 and he went away. Next up, I found it at what.com?
Anoraksearch.com.
Yeah.
Getalife.nerdyweb.com.
None of these things. It is in fact elevatorworld.com. And lastly, what all the rage in Pompeii?
Lava. Frankie Howard.
Frankie Howard. Indoor barbecues.
Yeah.
The answer is in
Lifts.
fact...
Lifts.
It's not from Elevator World.
Oh.
DIY is all the rage, or was all the rage in Pompeii, which, incoherent rambling, means that at the end of tonight's rubber, this week's pair of jokers are Paul and Bill with 11, whilst this week's leaders of the pack are Ian and Trevor with 16. And I leave you with news that in a primary school in Ribble Valley, there's evidence that slower pupils are benefiting from smaller classes. Gordon Brown explains to an elderly couple that his new inheritance tax laws will leave their offspring with virtually nothing. And at a Maidenhead Comprehensive, dinner lady Mary Smith strongly denies that there's any adverse effects to eating beef on the bone. Good night.
Later tonight, Jules Holland invites a top lineup of musos, including Skunk Anansi and Robert Palmer. BBC 2, 11:20.